Welcome back to Kavanaugh's Corner. Today on the channel, we're going to be talking about a new release here. It's kind of funny. It's a new release, but it's actually kind of a re-release of a film that I think is just phenomenal in every way in terms of writing, storytelling, acting, directing. Pretty much everything is pitch perfect in this film. And that is Stand By Me. This is the Rob Reiner film. It came out in 1986, I think it was. And this stars Will Wheaton, River Phoenix, Corey Feldman, Jerry O'Connell, Kiefer Sutherland. There's even a small part there with John Cusack, Richard Dreyfuss as the narrator of the film, based on a story called The Body by Stephen King. And it's funny that I think Stephen King still to this day thinks that this is the best adaptation of any of his works. And I hate to say it, but I kind of agree with him. In terms of emotional impact, this is definitely a movie that hits hard. It's just, a coming-of-age story that couldn't be any simpler, but boy, is it charming. It's a lot of fun to watch. And every time I watch this, I just get reminded of my youth, even though obviously I didn't grow up in the 50s. It's very reminiscent of friends that I had and some of the hijinks we got into when we were kids. And it's just a very, very well-made film, and I've always enjoyed watching this. Now, this is the new Steelbook edition. This was sent to me by Sony, so Sony Home Entertainment. Thank you so much for sending this out. Really appreciate it. Just to kind of go over the packaging first and foremost, it's just a very simple cover here. You can see the boys walking along there as they do through the film, and the back of it has that harrowing scene as they're running away from the oncoming train. And inside, it's 2 discs, no digital code in this one. You can see that's the 4K disc there and the standard Blu-ray there and the imagery of the boys on the inside there. So really, really nice packaging. I love Steelbook, so this was a real good one to get here, especially since I didn't own this on 4K or Blu-ray, actually. This is one of these movies that for some reason I never picked up, and I really don't know why. It's just a movie that has eluded me over the years, but I'm very thankful for this to have been sent to me. So thank you again to Sony for that. This new 4K disc, even though it is a re-release of a 4K, this disc here actually does have something new. It has an all-new Dolby Vision color palette on here, and it also has Dolby Atmos. So the Dolby Atmos, I'm pretty sure, was on the previous release, but the Dolby Vision here, the picture, is different from the previous release. So on today's review, we're going to be talking about the picture quality, the audio quality of the 4K disc, and we're also going to be going into those special features as well. So as I mentioned earlier, this new release of Stand By Me does have that Dolby Vision HDR as well as HDR10. The previous release only had HDR10. They've done this, Sony, I should say, has done this a couple times with some other films. 2 notable ones being Air Force One and Cliffhanger. Those did get Steelbook releases. This is another one of those. And now, I did not own the previous 4K, so I can't really do a fair comparison for you, which is kind of a bummer. But from what I saw when I watched the film, I will say that the Dolby Vision HDR in this was amazing looking. So if the HDR10, the previous version, was any indication of how good this movie could look, this Dolby Vision really kicks it up a notch. The Dolby Vision on this film creates a beautifully natural color palette that is, I wouldn't say extremely vivid. It's not oversaturated anyway. It is just extraordinarily accurate. The greens, the reds, the browns, skin tones are perfect. I mean, they are literally pitch perfect. The nighttime scenes, the black levels, are gorgeous. There's one scene in particular where they're sitting around a campfire at night. It's an awesome scene, but the fire now just looks like this yellowy, beautifully vibrant color. But again, it's not overblown. It's just right. Everything about it is just right. There are certain moments in the film where that color palette really jumps out at you. There is one scene in particular as the boys are walking along this train track, and there's just this overflow of green trees and hills in the background, and them walking contrasting with the green trees. It is just marvelous. I mean, it's just such a beautiful looking film. I mean, all throughout, I mean, this is pretty much a running thing throughout the film. Never at any point did I notice any issues with the film. The color grading on this is masterful, and I was very, very impressed with just how accurate and beautiful the movie looked through its entirety. I mean, the detail level on top of all that is absolutely stunning. I mean, the amount of detail you can see now. I mean, you can literally see the little, like, 5 o'clock shadow on Kiefer Sutherland's face now in certain close-ups. There's little detail on clothing. The leech scene in particular is a little more off-putting now, because you can really see the marks that the leeches leave on the bodies of the boys. It's like, ugh, it's just so off-putting. If you've ever seen this movie before, you know that scene well. It's such a it's just nasty. There is grain in the picture. It is a medium grain, I would say. It's not extraordinarily heavy, but it is noticeable. And I don't mind that. I really don't mind it at all. But you do see a medium layer of grain throughout the film, pretty much. It didn't have any impact on me. I just like to talk about film grain, because if you're not seeing the film grain in a movie, especially from the 80s or earlier, or even the 90s and earlier, you are losing the definition of the picture. DNR can be used to mitigate grain. I think digital noise reduction now has become like an art form for these remastered films. This one here, they really did not use a whole heck of a lot of that in here. The grain, I'm sure, has been mitigated to a degree, but it is still very noticeable, and if you're not a fan of that, you may not like this transfer. But honestly, the movie has been restored in such a marvelous quality that I did not mind it at all. It did not bother me, and I think it actually adds to the feeling of the film. The look of the film is intact, and I think that's really the most important part. Now, as for the audio quality on this, as I mentioned, it does come with a Dolby Atmos audio track, and this is one of those cases where, honestly, Dolby Atmos was really not necessary for this 4K disc, but I'm glad they did it, because the movie sounded incredible. The music in it is a lot of 1950s pop and rock songs all throughout the film, and it works beautifully. It sounds incredible. The dialogue throughout the film, which is extremely important, is crystal clear throughout. I didn't have to mess around with the volume or anything. The score of the film sounds just really nice. It's a very peaceful score mostly through the film. Funny enough, at no point in time did I ever notice the overheads being used. Ever. I don't think this is the kind of movie that really warrants Dolby Atmos, but it really sounds great. It sounds wonderful. I will say there are some sound effects in the film that are used in the surrounds and things like that. They're placed perfectly. There's no real issues with the audio at all. As they get deeper and deeper on their journey, you know, the boys are in the woods and things like that, and there's like a wolf call or a coyote or something that's howling in the woods, And it really is nice because it sounds like it's all around you, which really adds to the feeling of dread that the boys fear. And in that scene, they really, you kind of feel it, you know, if you were right there with them. So in a way, it is a very atmospheric type soundtrack. But mainly it's the surrounds that are used well. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not like an action type movie where there's a ton of sound effects all the time. It's very straightforward, but it still ends up being immersive in its own little way. In terms of special features, the 4K disc does have some deleted and alternate scenes that were cut from the film. Those scenes, I should say, are not in 4K. They're just in high definition. But it is nice that those were included on the 4K disc. The Blu-ray, however, has a picture-in-picture commentary with director Rob Reiner, Will Wheaton, and Corey Feldman. So that's kind of cool to see because you can see them as they're watching the movie. It's a really neat special feature that you never see. So that's a cool thing to have. There is a making of kind of documentary called Walking the Tracks, The Summer of Stand By Me. Great little making of there. There is also just an audio commentary with just Rob Reiner, the director, which is nice. And there is a music video for the title song, Stand By Me, which is, you know, again, nice to have. But it's more of a curiosity, honestly. But it's all there on that secondary Blu-ray disc. In conclusion, what did I think of this re-released 4K of Stand By Me? I thought this was a masterful 4K disc. I really loved it. I may be biased because I really enjoy this film, but it's one of these really damn near perfect 4K discs. I loved every minute of it. Watching it was a joy. Like I mentioned, the color palette's beautiful. The audio of it is, you know, just fantastic. And, you know, you got all those extra special features on the 4K and the Blu-ray. So it's a great little set. The packaging's fantastic. I recommend this, especially if you're a fan of this film. I know a lot of people that love this movie, and it's a movie that is kind of timeless, honestly, with the exception of that really dated 80s word processor at the end of the film. Besides that, it really does hold up, and I enjoy the hell out of this movie. It's a great time. If you want to pick up Stand By Me, I will leave a link in the description below that will go to Amazon. And if you use that link, I do get a little kickback here on the channel, so I appreciate it if you use that. It's very, very helpful to me. And again, big thank you to Sony Pictures for sending that out. I am very grateful for that. So if you're interested in seeing more reviews like this, definitely hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel down below. I review 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays and other physical media releases like this pretty much on a weekly basis. So I really appreciate it. The channel here is growing. I've been doing this for quite a long period of time, and I love doing this. It's all about you guys. I'd like to tell you what's worth buying and what's not, and really just trying to preserve physical media as a thing, because sadly it is disappearing, and it breaks my heart, but I love the idea that you can buy a movie and own it forever and not have to worry about which streaming service is going to take it away from you. So long live physical media. I love you all. Please, until next time, stay safe and take it easy.